try lowering your background music? No, I'm not going to. Definitely not going to. Okay, here we go. Greetings, minions and associates! If you are already a minion and you would like to tithe, please hit like. If you would like to become a minion, please hit follow. If you would like to confess, please do so in the comments. And if you would like to evangelize, please share. Today we're going to be talking about, briefly, this young kid that is going to prison for 5 years. He's autistic. He also has some other anger management issues that have been diagnosed. He did have an IEP, and they ignored it, and he acted out and hurt a lady quite severely. Actually, it wasn't a little bit of a beating. It was a lot of a beating, but she didn't follow the IEP like she was supposed to. It was her fault in that respect. But I guess it is what it is. So let's take a look at the story here.
An autistic teenager will spend the next 5 years in prison after brutally beating a teacher's aide over a Nintendo Switch that she confiscated from him. Now, take a look.
Again, there is an IEP, and they did not follow it. So she was probably not supposed to take that from him because they knew he had a propensity for violence. Okay? I mean, this is his mental challenge.
Look at this. This is surveillance video from inside of the Florida high school. You can see the aide in the black shirt walking away when the 17-year-old chases her and then stomps on her and begins violently punching her.
Let's go back here a little bit.
Which
now this, I will warn you, this is violent, but
she confiscated from
it is
him.
necessary
now,
to
take
see.
a look at this. This is surveillance video from inside of the Florida high school. You can see the aide in the black shirt walking away when the 17-year-old chases her and then stomps on her and begins violently punching her. She lost consciousness. This continues until others run up and pull him off of her. Now, a judge this week sentenced of 7.
Now, let me start with, there is never an excuse or a reason for violent behavior like this. As far as for a normal mentally healthy person. And I do not condone this behavior. This is terrible. This is bad. This is stuff we don't want. But this is something that they caused by not following the IEP. Now he's going to pay for it for the rest of his life. And she is too, possibly.
17-year-old as an adult and gave him 5 years in prison and even more probation after he gets out. Some say he's not going to get the help that he needs behind bars.
A lot of people with autism experience at some point in their lives or express aggression. I do not believe he will receive the treatment he needs.
I absolutely do think this.
He won't receive any treatment. I was a peace officer for 15 years, and when they talk about mental health treatment, they don't get mental health treatment in prison. That's what, I don't care where it is. They don't get mental health treatment in prison. They get cursory. They get enough to just say that they give it so that it looks good on the books, but they don't really care. At least in Colorado, they do not really care about mental health whatsoever. Now, the mental health workers themselves do, but Colorado, their policy is to look good. And so the only thing that they're concerned about is looking good. They're not actually concerned about the actual mental health.
School district failed him, that we had a behavioral plan that was not followed.
Now the victim has...
Now I called that as soon as I heard this story. I said, I bet you money they did not follow the IEP. By the way, one thing that I don't want to pass over here by any means is notice that this is an African American young man. Now, due to him being an African American young man, I guarantee you he got a lot stiffer sentence just for being black. Guarantee you. guarantee you, we have the statistics, we can show it.
Broken ribs, a concussion, hearing and vision loss, and now has PTSD, as you would expect in a situation like this. Definitely a disturbing situation. But we want to take a deeper look into someone living with autism and if these results are the...
Now, once again, this is not just autistic behavior. This is, he had an anger management disorder of some sort. So it's everything always gets wrapped in this package of autism, but there's usually other things going on.
Best option that's out there. Joining us tonight here, teacher Arnetta Murray and parent Lewis Hunter. So, an autistic teenager will spend the next 5 years in prison after brutally beating a teacher's aide over a Nintendo Switch that she confiscated from him. Now, take a look at this. This is surveillance video from inside of the Florida high school. You can see the aide in the black shirt walking away when the 17-year-old chases her and then stomps on her and begins violently punching her.
Okay, first of all, let's make it very clear that violent behavior is not acceptable at any time. And this is a terrible thing that happened. One, they're going to focus on the autism, but he also had, and I can't remember what they call it, but he has a aggression violence disorder of some sort that they knew about, and he had an IEP that they did not follow, and as a result, this is what happened. So, my question here is, his life is ruined forever. Her life is possibly ruined, well, not ruined, but definitely affected for the rest of her life because she didn't follow the IEP, or someone else didn't. Somebody didn't follow the IEP. It probably was her. She probably wasn't supposed to take that. He knew it, got angry, and here you go. My question here is this. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Is that going to help him? If he does have a violence disorder of some kind of mental health disorder, the aggression disorder, is that his fault? Is it his fault that he was born that way? Is it his fault that he was born autistic? If it is not his fault that he was born that way, then how the hell can we hold him accountable for this? Particularly when they didn't follow the IEP. Now, one thing that we want to note here is that this is a black person. And I guarantee you if this guy was white, he would not have gotten as stiff as a sentence. But the thing is the whole thing is this is a terrible, violent thing, and he should be punished. Why the fuck should he be punished? Why? Can he help it? Is it his fault? No. Why not give him the mental health care that he needs? Why didn't they follow the IEP, and why wasn't he getting the mental health care that he needed? But nobody cares about that. They're not going to go to prison for not following the IEP. They're not even going to get a reprimand, I bet. Yet this man's going to prison, and she has permanent injuries, it seems like. Which is very, very sad. Let's go on.
This continues until others run up and pull him off of her. Now, a judge this week sentenced a 17-year-old as an adult and gave him 5 years in prison and even more probation after he gets out. Some say he's not going to get the help that he needs behind bars.
No, he's not. He may never get out of prison, to tell you the truth. And once he does get out of prison, he'll be about 25-ish? No, 12. No, he's 18 now, so it'll be 23. Having 5 years of being with hardened criminals. That's going to hurt him. He's probably going to end up getting raped and definitely taken advantage of. in prison, because that's not where he belongs. He belongs somewhere where they can help him so that this type of thing doesn't happen again. What happens when they release him? If he hasn't gotten any mental health, could this happen again? You're damn right it could. And can they do something about it? Yes, they can. But putting him in prison and throwing him out on the street is not going to help the situation. It's not going to help the victim. It's not going to help him. And it's not going to help anybody else in society.
A lot of people with autism experience at some point in their lives or express aggression. I do not believe he will receive the treatment he needs.
He's going to prison because he assaulted a teacher, and the school did not follow the IEP. He has an anger issues and an anger disorder, and in addition to the autism. And so the lady evidently did not follow his IEP and did not do what she was supposed to do. Took like a PlayStation or something from him, and he got violent on her and hurt her badly, really badly.
Absolutely do think the school district failed him, that we had a behavioral plan that was not followed.
Now the victim had broken ribs.
We had a behavioral plan that was not followed. Whose fault is that? It's not his fault. It's not his fault he's autistic. It's not his fault they dropped the ball. Yeah, he's going to go to prison for it. And we're just going to make the situation worse.
A concussion, hearing and vision loss, and now has PTSD.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that he should be out in society, out on the streets right now. Obviously, he has some violent propensities that need to be addressed. But if he can be treated, then he should be. But sending him to prison and not treating it is not going to help anyone.
As you would expect in a situation like this. Definitely a disturbing situation. But we want to take a deeper look into someone living with autism and if these results are the best option that's out there. Joining us tonight here, teacher Arnetta Murray and parent Lewis Hunter. So, Lewis, as a parent, seeing a video like this, it's always tough because even in the courtroom video, you saw him towering over the deputies. He's 17, still not an adult, but still, your thoughts on this?
In the state of Florida, I believe he can be charged as an adult.
Oh, he was charged as an
adult. Okay, yeah, because I think it was a felony aggravated assault. This kid is 6'6", 270, and I'm gonna quit saying kid. He is 6'6", 270 pounds. He kicked this 60-year-old woman to sleep and then kept hitting her. Nobody deserves to go to work, to provide for their families, to have to deal with this. In the year previous to that, he had 3...
No. They did not follow the IEP. They were wrong. Him with an anger management issue, that pissed him off, and he acted out. Why should he have to deal with that? Them not following the IEP. And them not doing what they... Does he have to act out in violence? No. But the thing is it's not his fault he's autistic. It's not his fault he has anger management issues. It's not his fault they did not follow the IEP. If they had followed the IEP, this never would have happened. If he was not autistic and did not have this anger this propensity for violence, or this anger management diagnosis, it wouldn't have happened. But all those things came together to make the perfect storm, and it was actually, I believe, her fault because she did not follow the IEP.
Misdemeanor charges.
Now, you got to understand, she knows she's working with this kid who has a violent propensity. She knew he had an IEP. She did not follow it. And if she's not doing the best she can to help him, that's what happens.
For the same thing. So whether or not the mother should be charged, this sympathy talk about, well, you know, he's not going to get the help that he needs in prison. Who's getting the help that they need in prison right now? Mm-hmm. Whether or not you're autistic or retarded, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't. I mean, you can't.
Nobody's getting any mental health care that they need in prison that I know of. That I've never heard of it, and I worked in prisons for 15 years. But this still does not address. This is a red herring he's trying to throw out there. He's still not going to get the mental health care he needs, and this is not going to help anyone.
You can't give this kid too much sympathy because of what he did. Everyone's talking about the help that he's going to.
Nobody's giving him sympathy. I'm not giving him sympathy. I'm saying that if he is autistic, he cannot help that. If he has an anger management diagnosis, he cannot help that. That is not his fault. They had an IEP that they were supposed to follow to help him manage his anger management, and they did not follow that. This is what happened.
Going to get. What about this lady who went to work that day, this teacher's aide, mm-hmm. you know, for taking a Nintendo Switch? I don't see it. I would have gave him 10 years. He was facing 30, you know, so in my view, he got off. All right, but and then he apologized later on. This kid has written 2 books. He wrote a rap single, mm-hmm. you know, so to suggest that somehow he doesn't know right from wrong, this kid's smart.
And that's it.
It doesn't have anything to do with right or wrong. He has anger management, psychological issues, neurological issues that set him off, dumbass.
For the viewer out there, that he knows right from wrong.
Absolutely.
You know, he's not a kid who's in the fog and doesn't know which direction he's going. Mm-hmm. He knows right from wrong, according to the psychiatrists and the doctors that they talk to in this case.
Right.
But I'm not saying you're right. I want to hear from Arnetta. You teach mm-hmm. children with special, yeah.
And basically, now, we do believe in consequences. We're not saying that he should not have gotten any consequence. But autism is a unique, I'm not going to say disability, but it's a concern. Was he wrong for jumping on that lady? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know why he got upset. I don't know what triggered him. But however, as the teacher said earlier, the person said on the recording, did they follow the behavior intervention plan for that kid? Was everything in place? What about the documentation? He's probably had that type of aggression all along. And so, that being mm-hmm. said, do I think that he should have got 5 years? Absolutely.
Absolutely
but
not.
They are going to jail.
Because it's not going to help him.
He still needs to get the necessary help.
Do we just want vengeance, or do we want to make things better? And what these people are talking about is vengeance. I'm talking about what makes the situation better. That's what I'm talking about. I am not excusing this violent behavior. You cannot have this kid out on the street right now, as is, unless he is treated and can manage that anger. But he's not going to get that in prison. He's probably going to end up beating the. There's going to be more violent behavior. And he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison because he's not going to be able to function in prison. And the reason that is people are going to try to rape him or whatever else, and big guys can get it too. But the thing is he's going to get pissed off, and he's going to mess somebody up in prison that was picking on him or whatever, and he is going to mess them up, possibly kill them. This is what I've seen over and over and over and over in 15 years. And then he's going to end up going to prison for the rest of his life because these people failed to follow an IEP.
And that you may not agree with, he needs that because when he comes out...
I was going to ask, do you think when he comes out, it'll be the same story again?
Possibly, but if they have...
No, it's going to be much worse if he gets out, but I don't think he will. I don't think he'll ever get out of prison. Not with an anger management thing like that, and the way inmates try to pick on people and so forth. Nope. He's gonna jack somebody up at some point in time. That's all there is to it. They don't have IEPs in prison, okay?
and and measures in place, it can help him. To me, as I was looking at it, as you said, somewhere down the line, the school did not do their job. And I think you said he should have got 20, but I believe this, because they had some form of documentation about his behavior, that's probably why he didn't get 20.
Trust me, he's going to get the help he needs locked up. All right, there's some brother, there's some dude in jail is going to show him how to behave.
No, they're going to rape him. That's what's going to happen. You don't know a damn thing you're talking about, dude.
All right, this is about
I worked at maximum security prison for 10 years and regular prisons for 5 years. A total of 15 years in prison. That's not how it works. Nobody's going to take you under his wing. No, he's autistic. They're going to be very, very horrible to him. He's going to get out with PTSD, having been raped, having been beat up, and if he gets out, but I think he's going to jack somebody up in prison and then end up staying there for the rest of his life. That's what usually ends up happening with these kind of cases.
Consequences. You're not that special needs to where you don't understand what an ass whooping is. All right, and it's apparent that he's never had one. I've seen his adopted mother.
Wow, this guy is just spouting off BS. This guy's toxic.
Adopted mother is a frail white lady. There's no way that she's handling a 6'6", 270-pound kid who has aggression issues. You can't help that, but there's somebody in the pen that will help that.
Is there ever a point where a child
Really, dude?
is so ungovernable and as big as he is, where parents should consider, let's keep him home. Let's homeschool him instead of putting him in an environment where he could harm someone and cause us problems and himself problems like we have here?
Well, you know, unfortunately, because of the special ed umbrella, inclusiveness is the key.
Right, absolutely.
So we try to do that, but however, there have to be measures in place, not only from the parent outside factors as well, to help this kid. This kid, that's just, to me, he's just an aggressive kid. He's been that way.
And really quick, what do you think about the idea of some homeschooling if they can't get along with anyone
I
else?
agree if that's the parent's choice.
Got it.
I've got a classmate.
Not everybody can do homeschooling, by the way. It's not that easy.
Whose daughter would go to school and an autistic kid would grab her on the backside. You know, this kid never got disciplined. There was so much understanding and sympathy for the fact that this kid had this problem, but whose child has to suffer because of that? You know, what adult who's going to work to provide for their families has to
No, that's a false equivalency, buddy.
contend I don't blame the school district. I really don't. I blame
the parent,
the parent in the way that
He does not blame the school district for not doing what they were supposed to do. That's not their fault. He's all talking about accountability, yet he doesn't want to have any accountability for the people around this kid. No, zero accountability for any of the adults around. And this is the typical type of thing that we experience as autistic people.
she raised this child, and the fact that the school district that he started in didn't discipline him early enough.
Well,
he has no right to be in school.
Schools can't discipline.
And discipline, see, he's talking about discipline. This is not a discipline issue. This is a mental health issue. This is a neurological issue. But this is the type of response you get from these things. I'm glad that jerk was on there. Because, oh my goodness gracious. Let me see if I can find more on this story. This is within the last 2 weeks, so if I... No, we've got smaller... Okay, let's see.
Leanne, thank you very much for being back on the program with me. First and foremost, as a mom myself, I can't imagine what it is you're coping with, going through, the thoughts you have every night, and the nights that you are unable to sleep. I did want to ask you what your reaction was when you heard the sentence.
First of all, Ashley, I want to thank you for having me on tonight. I really appreciate that. It obviously was not what we were hoping for. And we're devastated and just trying to figure out the next steps.
So What did you think?
Now, one thing is that Brendan is an African American individual, and I think a lot of his sentencing actually was because he was an African American individual.
Was going to happen? Like, were you prepared for 30 years? Did you think it was going to be more than it was, less than it was?
I didn't think it would be 30 years. I was hoping it was going to be less. That I had found some residential
He ended up getting 5 years total.
hospitals that were willing to take him, and that they had written letters saying they would accept him. And I had a group home that was willing to accept him. I also felt like that I'm able to manage him now, and through our, how we've been together the last few years. And I had studied up on courses that, as an occupational therapist, I'm allowed to take courses that psychologists and social workers all take. And so I had been brushing up even more on courses involving autism and emotional regulation and things like that.
So, Leanne, Brendan's going to turn 19, I think, in a few weeks, like towards the end of this month, if I remember correctly. He is an adult, which means, as all of us parents understand, when our 17-year-olds turn 18, we don't have the rights anymore of overseeing their medical and making sure that they get help and care that they need. And he's in an adult prison. What is happening with him? Are you able to know about his treatment protocol in prison? Do you know if he's getting medication, therapies, the things that not only he needs, right, but also the other inmates need?
No, they're not getting what they need. I don't care where they are. They're not getting the mental health care they need.
Because if he's set off or if he's triggered, God help the other inmates who might not know what could happen.
Right.
Oh, I guarantee you they'll try to trigger him. They will try to set him off. And they will. And somebody's going to regret it. Guarantee you. That's how prison works. And if he doesn't, he's going to get beat up even more. Or essayed even more.
I mean, medication management is huge. And figuring out, how to make that happen. I know that he can sign a release that gives me access to his medical records, and I will be all over that. That when he was in the Jacksonville Pretrial Detention Center, it took an act of an attorney writing them to get him on any meds. They had stopped all his meds cold turkey on him.
That's the kind of treatment he's going to get right there.
What happened when his medication regimen ended?
He was having massive hallucinations. He was going through horrible withdrawals to where he wasn't sleeping. It was really bad.
So he's definitely got a lot more going on than just being autistic. Remember, no one is ever just autistic. There's always comorbidities.
I have been talking to other families that are dealing with stuff like this and getting advice from them. I'm scared though. There is a lawsuit right now against the Florida Department of Corrections over a man who has schizophrenia, and they didn't give him his medications for 6 days, and they handed him a chainsaw, and he killed himself. I talk to his mother, frequently. So I am rightfully worried about when he goes, whether or not he'll get the treatment that he needs.
He won't. Guarantee you he will not.
Your interactions with Brendan, like, are you close to the jail where he's been housed? Will you be close to the prison? Does he understand what's going on? What are your conversations like?
So I've been now that we've had the sentencing, I talk to him frequently, and I've been trying to warn him, not to trust anybody, to not borrow anything, to not take anything that anybody offers him. So just trying to talk to other families and prepare him as best as I can.
Does he get it? Like, does he know the circumstance he's in and what lies ahead when he's transferred to a full state prison?
I don't think he gets it. But, when I've talked to him and I've been tearful and crying, he says, "It's okay, Mom. I'm going to be okay." I really don't think he understands what he's going into and facing. I've told him all the horrible things that I've heard about, and he's like, "I'll be okay, Mom."
Look, typical teenagers don't understand what would lie ahead in a circumstance like that, let alone a special needs teenager like Brendan.
Okay, let's see if we can find. Okay, this
Florida,
is
where
interesting.
defendant Brandon Deppa is being sentenced today.
Now, he's the teen with autism who beat his teacher unconscious over a Nintendo Switch in February of 2023.
There's a video of exactly what happened. Video says it all. He was charged as an adult, and then he did plead guilty to 1 count of aggravated battery of a school employee in October.
All right, let's get you back into that courtroom now, where autism disorder specialist Kimberly Spence is on the stand for the defense.
I'm not gonna sit here and watch a court case.
So, in your estimation,
Okay, all right. Well, I think I'm gonna call it good, and the important thing to remember here is there's a lot of things going on here. One, this is being wrapped into autism, and this is not autism, not by itself. He has a anger disorder of some sort, and he was born this way. Okay? It's not his fault he was born that way. He did not get the mental health care he needed, and he acted out violently, and he hurt someone very badly, and that's not good. But if it's not his fault that he was born that way, and he can't help it, how the hell can we punish him for something that he cannot help? And why are we sending him to prison so that he basically is probably going to end up spending the rest of his life in prison, just because that's how it works with people like him? I'm sorry. I was a peace officer for 15 years. Is sending him to prison going to help anyone? Why did he not get the mental health care that he needed, and why not send him to a mental health facility where he can get the treatment he needs? Because if he can get treatment and they can treat it, then he can go out in town and be perfectly fine. At this point in time, it's probably not safe for him. Well, it's not safe because he's in the judicial system, and they're not helping him at all, I guarantee you. So what we got to really do is take things into perspective here. Okay, I am not condoning violence by any means, and it's very sad and terrible that what happened happened. But the facts are, he had an IEP, and they failed to follow it. So the school was not doing what they were ordered to do. And as a result, a mentally challenged individual became agitated and became violent because of what they did. If he was not born autistic, if he was not born with these comorbidities and this anger management thing, this wouldn't have happened. If they would have followed the IEP, it wouldn't have happened. But we're going to punish this man for the rest of his life. This is David Page. Screw them. Flap harder.